Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Village of Holly's Planning Commission meeting for June 28, 2023 to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Campbell,
Here.
Christian, Lacey, Koskela,
Here.
DeSessa,
Here.
Wallace, here. Everly, here. Kinnaman,
Here.
Okonski.
Here. I have a note here to excuse Miss Lacey, please. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, so excused. And we have a late arriver, so could you please mark Galen present, please?
I'm actually an hour early. You guys just changed.
All right, moving on. Could we have a look and approval for the agenda? Are there any things that are on the agenda that anybody has questions about and or needs to be amended?
A motion to approve the agenda as written.
We have motion and support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, so moved. All right, looking at the minutes from May 24th, 2023. We need a motion for the approval of minutes, if so moved.
I have let me raise just a minor issue. I assure you I was here at the last meeting, but I'm not listed as such, so
Okay.
thank you.
Our apologies.
No problem.
Anything else?
But you weren't listed as absent, so that's
Right.
Just no longer exists.
just left off the list.
I guess I have one thing, if you don't mind. And I just want to say, you take really good minutes, and I've taken a lot of minutes in the course of my lifetime, but I'm glad I don't take them in the age of YouTube. Because on the fourth page, in the remarks, right at the top paragraph, the remarks from our consultant, Alex, he was talking about use variances, and he provided a lot of education to us as far as the law, that use variances are not done in any other municipalities, but because we're a village, we were grandfathered in. I thought that was really important, and I'm not sure why it wasn't included in this, and I'm not sure how, if I'm just the one being picky. It really jumped out to me, it educated me, and I thought it gave us a good reference in how we serve the community going forward, not just the applicant or the neighbors.
Okay, we'll note that. Thank you.
Anything else? Did we have a motion with the adjustments?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Wallace,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Koskela,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. Okay, can I have a volunteer to read the statement of purpose, please?
I'll do it. The mission of the Holly Village government is to enhance our community's quality of life. Our organization strives for quality services, responsive action to citizen requests, and a cost-effective government. We promote citizen participation, proactive decision-making, and environmental quality. Most importantly, we shall always serve the citizens of Holly. The village of Holly will be a prestigious historical village that is a green residential oasis from the city and the center of commerce and activity for the region.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on to the sixth item, public comments. Is there anyone that would like to get up and speak before the commission regarding anything to do with the village? If so, get up to the mic and state your name and address, and we'll move forward. All right, seeing no one move forward, moving on to public hearing. Could I have a motion to open public hearing, please?
Also move to open the public hearing for consideration of the site plan at 502 North Saginaw Street.
Second.
Roll call, please.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Wallace.
I have a question first. Do we also have to have a public hearing regarding the 108 South Saginaw? Does that need to be included in this motion?
We can do it two ways. I don't believe there's a right or a wrong.
Okay.
It may be best to do it separate, that way things don't get lost in translation.
Then yes.
Thank you. Everly,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. Public hearing is now open. Again, if there's anyone in the public that would like to get up and speak regarding the 2023-004, consideration of the site plan for the property located at 502 North Saginaw Street, Holly, Michigan, parcel ID IH0134105-004. No one moving forward. Could we close?
Move to close public hearing
Second?
You want,
on this item.
all right. We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. All right. Now we're entertaining public hearing regarding the consideration of the special use permit for the property located at 108 South Saginaw Street, Holly, Michigan, parcel ID IH0133427005. A motion for that, please.
I will make a motion to open public hearing for the consideration for the special use permit at 108 South Saginaw Street.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Roll call, please.
Cascola,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. All right, again, for this public hearing, for the consideration of special land use permit for the property located at 108 South Saginaw Street, Holly, Michigan, parcel ID IH0133427005. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to get up and regarding this public open hearing? Again, no one moving forward. We have a motion to close this public hearing.
I'll also make a motion to close public hearing for consideration for the special use permit for the property located at 108 South Saginaw Street, Holly, Michigan, parcel ID 1H01334270005.
All in favor, or excuse me, roll call, please.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. All right, old business, continuation discussion of the capital improvement process. Has anything been worked on in that at all?
Correct, yes, I have started the first rough draft and submitted it to administration about 10 days ago and waiting for comments. So once that first rough draft gets approved through administration, then we'll reach out to the three-member team to review that first draft and see if they have any additions or deletions that they'd want to include, and then we'll take the next step.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item 8, new business. Item A of 2023-004, consideration of site plan for the property located at 502 North Saginaw Street, Holly, Michigan, parcel ID IH 0134105004.
So this evening, Alex had an emergency, and for representatives from Rowe, I'd like to introduce Lauren and Scott. They will be servicing any questions, comments, or concerns, along with giving a quick analysis of each item on the agenda. So I will introduce Ms. Lauren to the microphone.
Okay.
And Scott.
Hi everyone. Just like Jeremy said, Alex did have an emergency. He actually had a death in the family, so that's why he's not here tonight and you get me. Background on me, I'm a graduate planner 2 at Rowe. I've been there for almost 2 years now, and prior to that I was a planner 1 at the City of Flint, so this is not new to me. The public process here. I wanted to introduce Scott. He is the engineer, one of our engineers at Rowe for and also helps with Doug Scott and that sort of thing. So he'll be talking a little bit about the environmental concerns and also the engineering process for 508 or 502 North Saginaw Street. So if you'd like, I can give my go through the letter.
Lauren, if you don't mind, I apologize. In front of you today, you can see some new corrected items. The crew, Ms. Jackson's representatives, submitted new corrections. They were under the time constraint. They weren't able to get it in the first packet that went out, but they've been working very diligently with Rowe and the administration. And as you can see, that list has been dwindled down to just a couple items. You will see on the page showing addressed to Alex with the 1-2 items that are still up for questions. So, Ms. Lauren.
All right, so I'll be going through that letter you all received. It's got some black bold and red bold writing on it. The request is for a site plan review for a marijuana facility at 502 North Saginaw Street. For the letter, this is a third review from their first submission. The second review is the bold black lettering. The third review, which is the most recent review, is the red bold. And then anything with a strike through has been addressed, okay? So just going through the letter now. So informational requirements number 34, this has been addressed. The air conditioning and heating will be in the attic space. Item 35, the water and fire hydrant. This, according to the applicant, will be addressed in a full civil drawings with permit documents. Item 36, the missing details about the sewer and tap-ins. Again, this will be addressed with the full civil drawings with permit documents. Item 37, this is part of that email that Jeremy just spoke about. So it was recently addressed, stating they will address the survey of the stormwater management and sewer design in full civil drawing, obviously with permit documents. Item 39, missing information of local utilities and on-site, again, full civil drawings, permit documents. Item 42, again, was recently addressed by the applicant, stating there are no public records for right-of-way easements at the subject property. And then going into the zoning requirements, section 157.026, again, this was recently addressed by the applicant, stating that the necessary permits will be submitted after site plan approval is granted. Section 157.048, the environmental concerns. This is why I brought Scott. He can talk a little bit more about that. There are, according to the Eagle website, a possible underground storage tank. However, I will let him explain that.
Hi, Scott Helmeyer. I've been with Rowe for 17 years. I'm one of our municipal project managers, so engineering, not planning. The environmental thing, I don't want to, you didn't want to get anybody too worked up over it. The state of Michigan, they have a website with a database, and they keep track of underground storage tanks. And one of the things we always do is look at these sites to see if there's any reason to think there might be any contamination, especially if we're going to be digging and moving soil around and stuff like that. So there was a tank that showed up on the site, but it is not leaking. So they use the term lust, that's bad, that's a leaking underground storage tank. This one is just showing there's something there, and there's no record of it ever having issues. But I guess it could be addressed with a civil drawings, maybe if you guys do some soil borings and you get a little further along, maybe grab an analytical on one of those soils, and just make sure, because before you start breaking the pavement cap and getting into the dirt, you don't want any surprises. Because it can get quite expensive too to start hauling that stuff off site and disposing of it properly. So, yeah, that was pretty much what we were trying
And
to
the
get at with that
location of the
comment.
tank is identified in the documentation from the state?
Yeah, well, it's really rough. I'm sorry I brought I brought one copy. If you guys want, I can leave it with you guys too.
Can you kind of point it out on there?
It doesn't say what was held on it.
Can you kind of locate
Where-
it
where
on
are
that?
we?
Yeah, it's
So
kind of.
these
where's
two
that
are
mount?
kind of
Yeah.
Oh, the
it's
storage
over
tanks
the
are
there.
right here.
area.
Yeah.
Oh, it's towards the
Oh,
street?
okay.
Yeah,
So those orange
There's
dots.
a little orange.
So right in front of the building.
I don't know anything about.
but it would be good to locate it and see if you're gonna have to take it out to put the new building in, and then maybe.
Mr. DeSessa?
It's just a real generic, there's something here.
All right, Mr. DeSessa.
So I thought I heard that there was some sort of, with the old dealership there, at least ground level contamination. Now, that contamination may be too strong of a word, but residue of oil perhaps, I don't know, but that's my question. We're confident that there are no environmental issues here?
So I'll let the applicant speak on that.
Okay.
I am not educated on any of those contaminants that would be there at that site. That is for the applicant to provide to the village in some sort of environmental survey. But without going into a lot of detail, that would be something that they look like they're ready to speak on. So,
All right, when-
Be a requirement of site plan review approval, which I can get to once we
Right.
go through the rest
Well,
of
that
the
would
letter.
be, just want to say, I'm going to be on record of saying I think that should be, unless I hear something that changes that from them, I think part of the consideration for our vote tonight.
Yeah, as far as we know from that limited data, there's nothing to suggest there's combination, but it doesn't sound like you guys have anything to prove there's not.
Let me have them finish going through their list, and then you can come up and speak, please.
Okay. So moving along, section 157.049, clear vision, this has been addressed. Section 157 149, off-street parking spaces, this has also been addressed. Section 157.150, off-street loading and unloading, also addressed. Section 157.166, requirements and timing of landscaping. So the applicant did submit some materials regarding landscaping. All of the landscaping is permitted under the zoning ordinance except for one. Hydrangeas are not specifically listed within your permitted landscaping. You can approve this with your site plan review. It would just have to be in the motion that you are approving the hydrangeas because it's not specifically listed in the zoning ordinance as a approved species. If that makes sense.
also, though, it is not in the unapproved list either.
Right.
As some know, they are native to Michigan, and it is a very common plant.
Okay.
Yep. So just for that sake, it would just need to be included in your motion for approving that species for your consideration. And then section 157.198, village design standards, this was partially addressed. So in the comments, it says 30% of the front facade is required to be windows. The proposed metal roof, hardy board siding, stone veneer, board and batten siding, live wall, and on the side of the building. And then the proposed colors are white, blue, and gray tones. But it was not addressed regarding the front windows. So that's still outstanding. So as far as motions for tonight, you have a couple options. You could approve the proposed site plan as is, or you could approve the site plan with conditions. Those conditions I would suggest be addressing all of the outstanding items in an engineering review. Like they said in their response, a lot of these items would be addressed in a civil drawing, which is reviewed by our engineers. So that would be one requirement, as well as meeting the outstanding village design standards, so those windows. And then obviously the environmental concerns, if that is part of your motion as well. So that would be some conditions. And then you also have the option to deny the site plan and then postpone the proposed site plan to give the applicant enough time to address all the outstanding items in the letter. So are there any questions for me? No?
I don't think so. Thank
Okay,
you.
Yeah.
All right, if the applicant would like to come to the microphone and
Sure. Thank you.
name and address, please.
Certainly, thank you. Justin Danaskis, 900 South Lapeer, Oxford, Michigan. And we're really excited to be here tonight with this, to say, enhanced site plan from the original one that was submitted for the use. As you see, we're going ground up now, which really affords us to really meet a lot more of the standards by right in the zoning ordinances, by getting some more room on the north and so forth. Specifically kind of answer some of your questions, and I'd love to give you some more context because we're kind of excited about what we're offering here in the site, because we really think it fits within the design standards, the charrette that was done by the county, and then what we just saw up and down the corridor and getting to know Holly more, with that. So we look forward to your feedback on the materials. But first, as it relates to the environmental, so we did have a full phase 2 environmental done on this site, and so I was trying to pull it up, trying to remember my notes. I'll have to defer to my counterparts to look at that, but certainly, obviously, everything will be done to code in accordance with, the state, and they have that baseline environmental as part of a phase 2, so pretty much the state's already kind of aware, and then I guess I'll defer and we can report back on, hey, the monitoring well and so forth, but we're certainly aware of what's going on the site, due diligence to figure that out. So, and I kind of defer to engineering and others as to specifics of, in addition to monitoring or how that impacts the development of the site. But rest assured, nothing that we didn't know about or scared of, as well as the soils on site too. The boring stuff came back. Full phase 2 have a baseline. So, and again, we can work through the village with regards to kind of action plan or what does that really mean or not.
Okay.
So
And then-
you're saying, other than this tank, that the rest of the environmental came back in a safe stand?
Yes, I believe so. And then I didn't fully look into, we just recently got the asbestos and lead report as well, so we can begin demolition. I think there may have been a little bit, but again, nothing we're not scared of or aware of, just something you have to deal with and properly, of course. And so be diligent with that and with the village to make sure all the necessary things are taken care of. So.
Mr. DeSouza.
Well, in your experience, would some sort of environmental study be cost prohibitive based on, I know you got some evidence that you say no contamination found, which is great, but would it make sense still to do some, I mean, it's gonna be a cannabis facility, and almost sort of to me like a restaurant in a way. It's not, but I'm just worried about that possibility. So with the tank doesn't make me feel much better. I mean, I get that it's apparently not a big deal, but still, I just wonder if there's, out of abundance of caution, there should not be some sort of environmental study done. Are those wildly expensive?
No, that's what the phase 2 environmental is. So typically in due diligence, you get a phase 1 assessment, and so they'll look and see if there's any main contaminants, and if there's known ones from the past, then they'll do a full phase 2, and that's what we did, which is, over $10,000 typically, depending on site and how many borings you have to do, what they find on site, the sort of research they have to do. So that's exactly what we did. That's kind of part of the due diligence and development, or if anyone's even buying a property, they should really always get that. Because then what it really does too is once you go all the way and pay for a phase 2, you don't always have to because the phase 1's clean, you don't really have to go deeper. But if you get a phase 2, then you get what's called the baseline environmental, which is it was on the state record and so forth on title, saying that here are the known contaminants, here's what you need to do or not if there's something bad, and then also it protects buyers just for your edification. If they find a toxic waste barrel 100 feet down, well, you didn't know about that, you didn't put it there, kind of gives a snapshot in time so you can record and find out who the bad actors are if someone does bury that toxic waste barrel at some point, I guess. So just a little edification, the due diligence we went through, so there's really nothing more we can do. This is exactly what you would do and you'd expect from someone with a site like this. So hopefully that answers your question. And then again, we use that, again, as a third-party environmental, company. They're actually based out of Flint. That again gives us, sorry, not to direct right to you, but that gives us whatever monitoring or remediation, if any, or soils leaving the site and so forth would have to be done.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, you brought that up last December, November in that area, saying that they got back the environmental report and that they were going to move forward at that point before they decided to demo the building and things of that nature after the fact. So I do remember that being addressed in a meeting back a ways, that you did get that report.
Yeah.
But obviously the village did not get a copy of it, or you did not submit it with your engineering documentation to the road.
Sure, yeah, we're happy to provide that phase 2, report as well, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So what is your plan with the tank then?
So I don't want to misspeak. I only know enough to be dangerous and how things work on the topical. I don't know how they've engineered the site and actually what their report says specifically. I didn't know this would be, normally it's, all engineering and normally, in the front of the planning commission, or else I would have kind of dove in a little more and talked to the folks. So I don't want to misspeak or misguide you. I just know that, we've done our due diligence. This isn't anything builders we haven't seen before. And there's a plan for it, if that, rest assured, and it will be fully engineered and signed off by your third party too. So I just don't want to misspeak.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is this the right time to ask questions about things that are still outstanding here, or I see this other man standing?
Yeah, we also got some folks too, if I may. And then, yes, we got Ron Swanik from our design team with MetroCAD on the architectural design. And then we also have the co-founder of Cloud Cannabis, John McLeod, who's also with us for any operational questions or what have you as well. So.
Well, my question was about number 37, the stormwater management. And I know that you said that it would be addressed with full civil drawings, but there's no retention pond like I'm used to seeing, so where's it gonna go?
Yeah, great pickup. So we're, it's a little more costly, but we're going underground with it. So all the, normal swells and stuff you'd see above ground are now done underground. So that frees us up to have more parking, more landscaping, more use of the site.
Where does it go from there?
So it is still all tied into the same system, and actually working with the village and the third party, actually seeing how we can best interconnect. And they actually had a number of meetings with our engineers on how best to tie into stormwater as well as other utilities. So.
Okay.
And then separately, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
The storm sewer. Because there's no retention pond, I wanted to know where the drainage.
Yep, so what happens, and correct me if I'm wrong, all that water or drainage would go into that tank. Once that tank is at capacity, which is engineered for that site, then it would trickle into our storm system.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, correct. And then by working with the village, again, we just looked at the site initially and talking to them on where it kind of naturally flows, where the connections were. We kind of reworked it and, where it's located currently, and it ties in, again, just done underground as versus above ground, which you may be used to or seeing, yeah.
Okay, and my next question was about the parking, 20 feet deep as opposed to what you had originally planned for 18, and I apologize, but I can't read this smaller map. Have they been expanded to 20 feet deep? Because this is pickup country.
Yeah, so with re-engineering the site and how it lays out, they actually increased, yeah, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of big pickup trucks.
Yeah, it's even better, yeah, right, yeah.
And then the windows. Looking at the proposed rendering, you gotta be close to 30%, right?
And I think that's been addressed, actually. We are, yeah.
Okay. I just know one of the recent new buildings on the street was held to the fire for the windows, so there was no way.
Yeah. No, yeah. And we kind of I don't think we're losing much of the current facade, but the big windows and it's nice. So I think we did a nice job incorporating that. And then, do you know the percentage offhand now, Ron, with regards to what it is?
I think it was closer to 35.
Okay. Yeah, it'd certainly be over 30, but yeah.
The picture that we got looked pretty.
Yeah.
Correct, so a lot of windows up front, the main waiting area would all be glass on both sides.
Looks really cool.
Yeah. And then the materials and so forth is your professionals laid out. I think we did a nice job. We looked at the shred, other things around here, but we're certainly open to any other further feedback. But
the audience would like to see.
Sorry.
Yeah, people in the audience.
Mr. Chairman, if I could have clarity on the 18-foot for the parking space, when I read the ordinance, I didn't think it was in violation because these are 90-degree parking spaces.
Yeah, I think that does come into effect per
So
the
because
ordinance.
these are 90-degree parking spaces, they could be 18.
And I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
So Alex isn't here, but I believe it was a mistake by Roe in that review that he cited that they needed to be 20, but according to our ordinance, they are required to be 18. So it was an oversight through Roe. And I believe in one of the letters, it was addressed that. And then there was also an email chain to Ms. Jackson stating the apologies that it was marked as such.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a few other items, if I may.
Were you done, Chuck?
I was just gonna say there are diagonal and straight parking, so,
But I think it's just because there's the straight ones, that's what we're measuring.
okay.
Yeah, the other ones are 20, the center ones though. So, I was doing some light reading in the ordinances and catching up here, and one of the items was on the landscape plan, there is a fire hydrant where the park is gonna be. And, which I love the park. And I believe our ordinance states, and I have it up in front of me, that at maturity, vegetation is not able to be over 6 inches in height, within 15 feet of that fire hydrant. So if we're gonna have any big trees there, and if someone wanted to clarify or just confirm, I think that's the way it is. So,
Well, while they're looking there, I can also, as a first responder, I can tell you there's countless times that we would show up at an individual or business where the soil is above, where it's moved, there's shrubs, there's bushes, and as a firefighter, first responder, ultimately, we're gonna do what we need to do to access that hydrant.
so it'd be better to plan and just not put something big there?
Agreed.
We are about
Unless you
18
wanna
feet
chop
away
down.
from there. Right. 18
Yeah.
feet, you're correct.
So, yeah,
Oh, perfect.
yeah. So it
And
looks close
we-
on the, yeah.
With the line of sight too, I think they're gonna have to keep that up so that you can have that clear line of sight while you're exiting the facility. So it's not anything that's like an evergreen where it's gonna be low,
Okay.
a low bush like.
Yeah, we have it as a shade tree, but we will address that though.
Yeah.
Double look at that.
Now, one other item I had was lighting. So our ordinances state that on the building, it's gotta be 50 feet apart. We're a little under the 50 foot, so I don't know if we need to even address it for the Class B lighting. And then the Class C, I think it is, has to be at least, I don't remember what it is, I had it written down, I think 80 feet. So it's basically this one here and that one here are just too close.
That's on the side of the building.
So the side of the building on the north side are too close, just slightly. And then the other one is, I can show you if you'd like. Is that something we need to concern ourselves with?
So does the ordinance say a maximum of or a minimum of?
Both. So there is a maximum, so you couldn't put like 100 lights right in a row. So there is a minimum and a maximum, and because it's decorative, I believe it's a shorter distance of 50 feet.
So a couple things. One, I would think security, right? It's a very, it's a targeted building, of course, right? So the photometrics will show that there is no light trespass. And as long as they're within the ordinance, I would assume that it would be acceptable to allow
Okay.
the addition of the lights as long as it doesn't show light trespass or in dramatic violation of the ordinance.
So my concern was is if someone in the future comes up and says, you like Cloud Cannabis do it, why can't we do this?
Sure, understood.
So is that something we need to specifically say, you're allowed to do this, or is it just, it's not like trespassing, you're good?
So if it doesn't cross, property parcel lines, I should say, it wouldn't really be an issue, especially if it's decorative lighting. This is more required lighting, and especially, the parking lot lighting is a bigger issue.
That's what it is, it's a decorative pole at 48 volts with 7,000 lumens.
Can I approach and see?
Absolutely, yeah, so it's these two lights right here are
I'd like to see
the
those.
ones that are quite close. So,
Okay,
for reference, this here is 50 feet.
right.
So it's quite close.
Right, I would say, especially because they're in the middle of the site, and the photometrics for the foot candles,
So it's okay?
beyond, they don't cross the parcel lines, so
Okay.
that's a major
That's the
reason
main
people
thing.
come to complain about lighting is that it's crossing
Okay,
boundary lines.
perfect.
But we could in theory move this more up to the middle.
I
You
mean,
know,
As long as
if
it doesn't
right.
dramatically affect.
Yeah, I think we can see we're under 1 foot.
And you can make that a
Right now,
requirement
we
of
can-
site plan approval to move the light, a couple feet away, just to clear that distance, as long as it doesn't dramatically increase the foot
Okay.
candles towards, his property line. That could be a condition as well.
okay. Thank you. Last one, if I may. There is negative air pressure? I don't think I saw that.
So that'd be engineering when they do the HVAC, yeah.
Right.
So there will be, and then there will also be like carbon filters, but really, you find in the stores, yeah. In the stores, it's much easier to contain than, you know, say a grow or processing operation, because it's mainly going to prepackage a lot of the goods now.
I went to one of your stores, first time being one, and soon, I couldn't smell an awful lot,
Yeah,
but I could smell it when I was about to open the door.
okay,
So we do have ordinances for that.
yeah,
It does say, yeah, it says negative air pressure.
yeah.
And that will be addressed in their heating and cooling submittal, which will go to our engineers along with Rowe, our inspectors, that will review that prior to the permits being issued. But I created that. That was my personal project, was that ordinance on the smells, so I take pride in that one. I made sure we were above and beyond.
The, one other thing I did notice too is, Michigan allows, delivery.
Mhm.
So I was at your store, and it was Utica, and there was an individual parked behind the building, and I said, well, what he was doing, so he comes out holding 6 bags, so I imagine he was a delivery person.
Mhm.
So for this site, is there a proposed site where we're gonna have individuals that are gonna be parking, just even temporarily, for delivery?
We're not gonna, that's the only site we have is deliveries in Utica. All the other 10 stores do not have it. We will not have delivery here.
Okay, thank you.
The only reason we have delivery in Utica is because it's such a high volume store. It's a way to keep people out of the parking lot, off the streets.
It's a small parking lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we were really constrained there, so, yeah, so we will not have delivery at this location. Utica is the only one of our 11 stores that we do have it.
And if you could, please come up to the microphone and
Yes.
address your name, just because you haven't already, just for
Yep.
the record.
I'm John McLeod. I'm co-founder and head of new markets for Cloud Cannabis.
And then an address for me.
801 West Big Beaver Road, Troy, Michigan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Sisson?
Granted, this first question is not a site review type question, but I'm asking anyways. Is this marijuana business still cash only type of thing? And if so, what about the security concerns?
So it's a very fair question. Cash and PIN debit is all we're allowed to use. We're not allowed to use any type of credit cards. The government doesn't allow us to do it. So we would love to do it. It'd be a lot easier for us. So it's cash or PIN debit, which is like a reverse ATM. Same thing. We have a bank. We're with First Merchants Bank, like a real bank. We have all the money comes in, secure transport, just like it would to any other business. So it's just like any other business, except for we don't have the ability to take credit cards. So we still have all the cash is picked up by secure transporters, just like it would be from any other business, and that's it.
Okay.
And we'll have security 8:30 p.m. to 8:30 a.m. after hours. So security will arrive before the close of shop, make sure everyone gets out of the shop correctly, make sure that the property remains secure, because my background is in law enforcement. I'm a retired police officer, and the vulnerability of these sites are not why they're open and operating, it's when they're closed. So they're just sitting targets if they're closed. So we have security at all of our sites 8:30 p.m. to 8:30 a.m. just to watch the building.
And I would also, excuse me, would you please explain to the ordinance about the Holly Village Police Department being able to monitor all camera activity at any time as
Yep.
well for another security layer that is added?
Yeah, and we have our IP address for all of our cameras that we're sharing, so that our real time, you guys can have access, or the police department can have access to every camera inside our facility. You know, I mean, we want as many eyes looking at us as possible.
Is that closer, I mean, what about someone hacking into that? I mean, just, is that pretty secure, I assume?
Yeah, I'm
don't
sure
know
it's
the tech-
extraordinarily secure. Somebody could probably figure it out, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But I mean, all they're going to do is just see. They're not going to be able to access anything.
Okay.
So, and again, what we're doing is completely lawful, and it's a very highly regulated industry. So there's a lot of steps that we have to take to make sure we're doing things lawfully. But we don't mind sharing our cameras, and we like the cooperation of the police department with that, because you know, a lot of times, particularly at these stores, because of the cameras that we have, I mean, we'll have probably somewhere around 40 cameras at this site. We're actually going to add value to the surrounding communities in that regard, because they can help with lost people. If there's a crime, if they're trying to track a car, whatever it is, there's more often than not that the police are reaching out to us trying to get footage from us, which we're happy to share.
And Mr. Narsh, Chief Narsh, was heavily involved in the process of the review during the pre-construction meeting. So
Yep.
I know he's not here tonight to speak, but he was heavily involved, and with the cooperation of Cloud, got that negotiation of being able to see those cameras live at the PD.
And you know, this will be our 12th store, and he even, you know, Chief Narsh brought up a couple points that we hadn't even addressed in previous builds. So kudos to him for that.
Okay. All right, my last question is, it's my understanding that you guys originally agreed to restore the main building there.
Correct.
And then, well, the word backed out may be negative, but I understand things changed during the process.
Yep.
But can you please, for transparency reasons, explain why that happened? I understand that building's in bad shape, don't get
Yes.
me wrong, I get it.
Yep.
But why the change?
Well, it's just structurally that building was not sound. It just wasn't. So the amount of money and time that it would take just to shore up the building was really just egregious. You know, we're talking $2 to $2.5 million just to make the building safe. And at that point in time, it's cost prohibitive for even going forward with the project at that point. So this is just easy. We can clean the site, get it all fresh and renewed, get a new building there, just liven up that whole little piece there with the landscaping, the pocket park that was mentioned, the mural, the living wall. It's going to be a really nice site.
I just have to say something about the old Johnson Pontiac. As being the person here that's lived in Holly all my life, I've even been here longer than you, Marlo. In 1935, that building was built by the Johnson family to be...
Joseph, wasn't it?
No, it was Johnson Pontiac. The family lived on the corner of Grant and Sherman Street. I just had my 50-year class reunion, and one of my classmates is just brokenhearted that that building is coming down. It was built in 1935 to specifications by the Pontiac Motor Company, and it was where my parents bought their Pontiacs, and we waited, you know, every couple of years for Mrs. Lake to turn in hers, because it was always a good trade-in. Having those big windows, I don't know if you guys know, but they used to put curtains up, and before the model year would come out, there would be a whole week where you didn't know what was going on in there, and then ta-da, they'd pull back the curtains and there would be the new model year, and if you were lucky, you got a little model car. So it really was an important thing, a place and a building in my heart and in my town, and I realize it has to go, and take good care of it, okay?
Yes, and we appreciate that, and I appreciate the context too. It wasn't our first choice. Obviously, our first choice was to retrofit, but Ron and his team have done a really good job of trying to keep just the look of what's going on in Holly now with the decorative lighting, etc., so it's seamless into what you guys are building here.
Thank you.
It's really hard to see because my eyes, I did not bring my glasses, but I just wanted to make sure that both outbuildings, there's two, like, one's almost a two-car garage, then there's another that's almost like a barn.
So that's a
garage.
separate.
Are those both going?
That's a separate parcel.
It is a separate parcel?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm wondering, so.
Not to cut you off, but just to.
No, that's okay, so is either one on that property?
So the one in the back of the building,
That two-car garage?
that one will be removed. The one that's between Dollar General or Dollar Tree,
Yes.
that one, you know,
It's a
that's
separate parcel.
is a separate parcel.
All right. Just
But
wondering.
but the one that's on this right here is is being removed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Everybody else done? I just have one question that has nothing to do with the site plan, really. And I guess it's more of my ignorance to the law. In the public area, is it allowed for people to smoke in the public area, the product?
So there's no on-site consumption that's allowed by the state. So we would lose our license if we allowed that. So there's no consumption in the parking lot, in the lobby, anywhere. There's no on-site consumption at all.
I was just concerned with the public area being up front by the sidewalk. you know,
Yeah,
for-
no on-site consumption, period, hard stop. I'm not gonna risk my license for that, so.
Just wondering.
That's a different kind of license, different permit.
Yeah, if you were gonna do a consumption lounge, that's a whole other beast.
And I don't think we included those in
No.
our list.
Okay.
So that option is currently not one of our available licenses.
And I'm not permitted to, or licensed to do that, because I'm licensed to grow, process, and retail. I cannot have a consumption lounge license anyways. And just full disclosure, it's a horrible business as well. So,
Thank you.
it's not a good business.
Anybody else have any other questions? Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you.
Any other comments within the committee? Okay.
I made notes if we're ready for a motion.
Sure. Make a motion if you so desire.
It's in the list. It's in the list. Okay, I will make a motion to approve the site plan for the property located at 502 North Saginaw Street, parcel ID IH 0134105004, with the following contingencies: that the following items will be administratively reviewed prior to finals. Item 35, item 36, item 37, item 39, the withholding of approval, 157.026, the environmental review or process on the tank, 157.048, and the allowing of hydrangeas and the proposed adjustment of the lighting to be on the finals for the administrative review as well.
I'll support.
Roll call, please.
So is this, is that what you call this?
It has contingencies, yes, conditional with contingencies, that's what it is, conditionally approved.
Campbell,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Koskela,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. The only thing that wasn't mentioned on the proposal was, I believe, 198, where they said they had 35% coverage of glass.
So include a statement that says 157.198 of the design standards for glass has been met.
Okay, can we do roll call one more time with that adjustment, please?
Yeah.
Okay, Campbell,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
DeSessa,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Koskela,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay.
Gentlemen.
Oh, sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business, letter B, 2023-005, consideration of special use permit for the property located at 108 South Saginaw Street, parcel ID IH 0133427005. That was Lauren, correct?
Hi again, yes, Lauren. All right, so you should all have a letter dated June 8th in front of you, hopefully. Cool. So the request is for a special land use in the Central Business District at 108 South Saginaw Street. And the request is to convert a second-story long-term residential dwelling to a short-term rental. And this is an existing mixed-use building in your Central Business District. So going over the informational requirements, there's only one. So the proposed parking and the existing municipal lot, it's just unclear the size of the parking spaces, so the dimensions. And then moving into zoning compliance, section 157.026, withholding of approval, it's just unclear if the applicant has received or will comply with relevant state, county, or federal approvals. And then there's one outstanding item related to the special land use itself. That is item F of section 157.130. And that's just having the applicant confirm that there will be an on-premise guest register. Okay. And then on the second page of the letter, it's the two outstanding items are related to parking. So section 157.146, parking of units of measure. Again, just like the informational requirement, it's just unclear the size, the existing size of the parking spaces. So just getting that confirmation. And then also section 157.149. I'm going to back up really quick. So in section 157.146, the applicant has proposed 12 spaces. The ordinance requirement is 1 space per 3 people, so they actually exceed the amount of parking that they actually need, but we still need those dimensions of the parking spaces. And then, again, section 157.149, off-street parking space layout, just like I said, those parking dimensions. And that's all I have for you. And then, again, your options. So this is a special land use, so you're going to have 2 motions tonight, one for the site plan and then one for the special land use. So the site plan, you should have received the informational and zoning compliance checklists as well. A lot of it, obviously, since an existing building, was not applicable. So really the only outstanding items there were the parking dimensions, and then if the applicant will receive or comply with the relevant state, county, and federal approvals. Those were the only 2 outstanding for the site plan review.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're saying the guest register is apparently...
Part of the special land use.
Yeah.
So for your motion for site plan review, you could do approval with conditions based on them meeting, defining the parking space dimensions, as well as the county, state, or federal approvals. Or you could deny or postpone. Those are your 4 options. And then for the special land use, you'll make a separate motion for the special land use. It can either be approval with conditions. Your one condition would be the on-premise guest register book, denial or postponement. So those are your 2 motions for this one.
Well, I'm just curious, why are we unable to determine if they're going to have this or not?
It just wasn't given, and they had a personal statement, and it wasn't provided in that personal statement. That was the only one item that was missed. And if they are here tonight to address that, then they can address that tonight.
Actually, from what I understand, and this comes up in every single one of these, that is a requirement when Jeremy does a final inspection before he issues the C of O for that location. He has to see that. And so in order to have it in the ordinance, it needs to, or have it required, it has to be in the ordinance. But it's not something that we review, it's something that he reviews before issuing occupancy.
Right, and also in that language too, it's whenever, I have the language right here, all operations shall maintain an on-premise a guest register, and all guests shall be legibly registered, and such register is subject to inspection during reasonable hours by the village manager or his or her designate. So that's whenever, even after the C of O is issued, the city manager could go on site at a reasonable hour and request for that register as well. So just confirming that we'll be on site for your special land use motion, or if the applicant's here tonight. So that's all I had for you.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak?
I can, sure. I'm Kevin Barnett, 108 South Saginaw Street owner and applicant. So as far as the guest registry, what do you want in it? Just names, addresses, phone numbers? What do you need?
Yeah, so it doesn't say specifically what is required, but for a guest register,
Okay.
I would assume obviously names, dates and times that they're there, parking, how many parking spaces they're taking up, anything else you can think of?
Mostly point of contact.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, and I don't know who you're using, but a lot of the platforms out there now are electronic.
Correct.
Where it's all a database where you can pull up a particular day and inquire about whatever happened through that booking with that entity of who was there, how many people, and so on. So I know with the other units that we have in our downtown district, we have accepted those. Just because it's a little easier and more legible to see a digital copy versus somebody that's just there signing a book. I found it has a little bit more power behind, and I'm going to use Airbnb as an example. Or is it Airbnb?
There's Airbnb and.
Yeah,
Vrbo
Airbnb and Vrbo, yeah. So Airbnb, I drew a blank, I apologize. They keep phenomenal records, right? So they book right through that site with the applicant's approval, and all that information is stored. And I don't think there's an expiration on it. I think it's a forever storage on that database. So I've gone through Zach and I forget her name, Morris, who is at the White Building. I believe they were one of our first ones. Sarah Morris, yep. And they've gone to the digital as well, and it's a lot easier for me and them, and it's kind of like a random, right? So I can just pull up an actual date and whether or not they've sat it, so.
Not to get into the weeds on this, but what about from the other side of this? Should ID be required at that time? What if someone gives a fake name? Does it matter?
So they do their due diligence, right? The website. So they
Yeah.
book all that electronically. They have to pay for that up front. That credit card and that name, I'm assuming,
Okay.
I don't know for sure, have to match.
That's correct. I do usually use two sites. Vrbo would be one, and then Airbnb, and they do all that beforehand, before they can even register for the site, so that is correct.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. In the rear, will the guest be able to utilize the lower portion of the?
There is a patio back there that's for anybody to use. So we have like seating and stuff like that. There's a grill there, but it's not ever used, but it is accessible for anybody to use, whether.
Can it be within the village?
It doesn't matter to me. I built it because I didn't want to mow the grass. So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, our business down below it's for a hangout. Come hang out, get some treats, enjoy yourself. I mean, not a lot of people want to look at a parking lot, but hey, it's there and it's for them to look at and hang out and do whatever. So,
Anybody else? Yes?
Do you really think people are gonna park in the mill parking lot?
well, if there is an event going on, and there's limited spaces, then that would be probably a possibility for sure. Other than that, pretty much anybody that's ever lived in town there deals with this on a regular basis. So you go where you gotta go. And so I know overnight spaces are limited to certain areas. I don't know if that qualifies for summer days, or if that's just a winter thing.
I think with the last short term, we asked them about having a parking space that was dedicated, and they had them. And now what we're doing is giving up public parking spaces for your visitors, so.
Well, there would be no place to put them unless you're gonna build a skyscraper or something, like a
Yeah.
parking structure, because, other than that, I don't know how I get a designated spot for anybody, unless I tore out that whole back porch and put parking there, which would still take up your spaces because they're in front of it. So I don't know how that would ever be possible.
I think when we created that ordinance, we took into consideration in the downtown that some properties do not own parking space.
Okay.
And at that point, it is use of what's considered municipal parking. And there are designated spots or parts that are approved for overnight parking. And so that's the areas that get used for short-term or long-term rental or residence in the downtown.
Okay.
And so it's used that way.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Just for my sake of knowledge, is the Mill Pond parking or Mill lot owned by an individual, isn't it? And we just have, the village has permission to use it, I thought. Then you want 11 owned it, and then, yeah.
And it is owned by the vault with municipal use other than conflict with one of their events.
Okay, so they can shut down that lot.
They can shut down.
Because they own it,
that lot,
yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, follow up on the parking, do we know how many of those overnight spaces, public spaces are, how many vehicles are going into those? I mean, are people not finding spaces because of this? Are there available spaces? Do we have any idea what's going on there?
Unfortunately, it's first come, first serve.
Yeah, I can tell you that there is an individual in town that is working on a parking study.
Yeah.
And they're looking at Crable Park. As you know, if it's not the farmer's market there, and you drive by at 6 o'clock in the morning, that parking lot is empty. You drive by at 6 o'clock at night, there's still quite a few parking spots available in that lot, with the overflow being the gravel lot. So, I know parking is always a complaint, but really I think it's not convenient parking, right? So what they would do is they would go to Mr. Barnett's place, they would unload their goods there, take the car over to the overnight parking.
Oh, no.
Right, and then,
I do a lot of Airbnbs, and that would be not a good thing to have to go park somewhere else.
that's all we use too as a family, is exclusively short-term rentals too versus hotels or motels. So I've done it in the past. It's really a convenience thing. I have 2 young boys, so it's easy for me, but
I'm just trying to figure out some consistency, because the only other one we heard was one that had their own parking spaces. Now we're talking about okey-dokey for our municipal spaces, and I didn't know what the difference was.
Sure. So I believe we have 5 in the downtown. This one might be 6. I'd have to go back and check my notes. And I believe 4 of them have 1 deeded spot or 2. And then there's 1 that has no spots. And I believe that was our very first one. If I'm not mistaken, it was Mr. Hoffman.
I think so.
And I apologize, I don't
The
remember.
one in the alley.
So
Does not own
it's
no
not
parking.
uncommon for these, and especially in our downtown district, to not have a deeded parking spot.
Not to go off on a tangent, but real quick, isn't Chief Narsh doing some sort of study along these lines too?
He may be. I just know it's a private individual that's working on it for possible new development.
Yeah, Chief Narsh did mention he was going to be doing some upgrades or whatnot. I think one of them was 23-hour parking, which would alleviate people that just leave their car there all the time.
I had one quick question on your safety information sheet that was given to us. It did say, in case of a tornado, shelter is located either in the common hallway of the apartment or in the basement of the building. Will they have access to that basement?
Yeah, I
You
have-
can get through without going into your shop?
I have keypads on all my doors.
Okay.
And so if necessary, I can give them the code to get into the basement in the shop, yes.
Okay. But that wouldn't work with it in case of power outage with it?
Well, they're battery powered.
Are they battery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so unless my batteries die.
Unless your
then-
battery is, make sure that was-
Yeah. And in the common hallway, there's no windows, and so they can shut doors, so they be protected there.
So you would give them the,
If absolutely necessary. And again, I do have my manager for that spot, just lives directly across the street, so.
And the maximum occupancy?
Would be 8.
What about the smoke alarms? Are those correctly?
Yep, so I haven't done my walkthrough yet. I
Oh.
usually do my walkthrough after planning of commission approval. I know he's been in already and paid for it, so he's patiently waiting for that phone call. But they are required per the ordinance with the commission you were on, that they have to be interconnected, right? Or wirelessly monitored, connected. There's some new models out there which do that. Evacuation plans on the back of the doors is another thing I look for. Interconnected smoke detectors, accessibility, shelter in place, guest registry, and then also the Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Kinnaman has provided that informational log, and I believe Mr. Walker has already given that to you. If not, then we'll get that to him on the day of inspection.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
got it in time. For a procedure question, the previous applicants have provided the name and address on the application for the agent.
it's on here.
So it doesn't have the, I think it says someone's first name with an initial and they live across the street. So do we as the commission?
That's part of his,
know it,
that's
or-
part of their responsibility.
So we don't have to do it as long as you're okay with it later.
So they have to provide it to us, administration,
Okay.
and it's also on the registration form.
It's part of
Provide
the
that.
permitting
Yep, so as long
process.
as we don't have to have that, okay, perfect.
Okay. If not mistaken, the fire alarms need to be interlinked with the facility down below
Correct? Yes.
And the basement.
and basement, right? So that they, if there were a fire down below the unit, it would send off their detectors also. And then regarding size of parking spaces, I don't know how that really involves when it's the public parking spaces that are dictated by the village.
Sure. Great point. I don't know what kind of response you're looking for me. I think there is existing nonconformity if it was not aligned with our ordinance, but it is a village municipal-owned lot. So at one point, it was in compliance. Now, if the ordinance has changed and made the spots longer or deeper or wider, that would be on the village to, anytime they go and renovate or expand that development, they're gonna have to comply with our standards of today.
Right, so as far as the notations in the review from Roe, I would, I guess, recommendation that the sizes would be per the village standard sizes.
That are existing.
Because we shouldn't hold up an application
Right, so
due to current standards versus what the village has there.
my question might be, when we make that, do we say that that is excused or exempted?
So they're not making any exterior changes to either the building or the parking lot, so even if it was a non-conforming use, technically they're okay. So it doesn't necessarily need to be, I would recommend it being part of your motion, saying that since it's an existing municipal lot, you're waiving that requirement to know the parking space dimensions. I would say that in your motion.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Sure.
Looking to you, Richard.
Yeah,
Faster motion.
finding all my stuff to put in the right place here. Okay, I make the motion that we approve the special use permit for the property located at 108 South Saginaw Street, parcel ID IH 0133427005 for short-term rentals, with the following conditions. That the parking is existing and therefore we are waiving, and that the guest registry and other items will be administratively handled prior to C of O, and that it will be subject to following and administratively approved all relevant state, county, and federal and local compliances. Oh, wait a minute, let me make sure I've got these other things.
I will.
Those are all, the other things are all parking things as well, so.
Just as a reminder, you're making two motions tonight, one for the special land use and one for the site plan review.
Right, that one we'll talk about separate, the site plan is separate.
I will second that.
Roll call, please.
Cascola,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Sessa,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes.
Mr. Koskela, I don't, the pages aren't numbered, but on the safety information sheet under item number 4, it does give the local contact's name and phone number.
Okay, I just know we had to have the address was the question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
Previously, we
misunderstand.
had done the address, so if we're not, then,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
So were some of those things in the site plan review too?
Since you did all the conditions under the special land use and the site plan review goes along with the special land use, you don't technically need all those conditions with the site plan. You can just approve as is based on, the
Administrative.
special land use.
Based on special land use?
Yeah, or in connection, I would say.
Then,
I'm too confused to make a motion.
okay. Then I make the motion to approve the site plan review.
I thought I got it, but not.
I make a motion to approve the site plan review for the property located at 108 South Saginaw Street, ID IH 0133427005, subject to the, what was it?
Special land use.
Approval of the special land use.
The special land use.
Administrative approval of the special land use.
Yes.
It was confusing.
So, Richard, can you just say that for me rather than Ms. Everly so that we're all clear on the record, please? Administrative approval, the last part.
Subject to all of the items contained within the contingencies of the special land use approval.
Thank you, sir.
That's the easier way to say that.
So we had a motion by Richard, support by Galen. Roll call, please.
Kinnaman,
Yes.
Everly,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Sessa,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cascola,
Yes.
Wallace,
Yes.
Okonski.
Yes. Okey dokey. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Moving on. Training, which you have none of.
Thank you, Scott.
Yep, thank you.
Reports,
Good night.
ZBA.
I believe we canceled our last meeting again,
And this one as well?
and the last one we have, so it was very productive.
DDA.
I didn't attend, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they had one, but I don't know.
You know anything about it?
They're just, I suppose under DDA would be music in Battle Alley has started. Second and fourth Thursday evenings. And other than that, we're inching closer to being able to get the depot moved. That is, some negotiations with the railroad on the lines, looks like they have been, they've been worked out a lot better than they were, and, Mr. Klemp has also applied for a couple of, significant grants, through the county, and, we're waiting to hear results from those. If they come through, it could be funding to finish not just the move, but the whole project.
I was at the last DDA meeting, and I was trying to remember everything they talked about, and I can't. So I think one of the items that was brought up, we were going to be having new grates put in around the trees. I believe those have been purchased.
There's a few that we're missing, or that we're not there.
So there's a quite a big gap, and I guess that's going to be not sealed up. So
We attended the truck rally over the weekend, and that was really long.
Yeah, that's a chamber thing.
That was a chamber,
Yeah,
to get 'em
but we had DDA volunteers, Main Street volunteer team came, and we had about a dozen that came and helped us with that. Was very appreciated. Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay,
Still not
Council.
got my Andy's burger.
Council, we approved budgets last night. Other than that, that was about the extent of it. One of the grant things that we had applied with the state for, our rating came back that the term that was used, there are 100 communities in worse shape than we are. And so we do not qualify for grant funds, but they are waiting to hear what kind of bond funds would be available to us to determine whether or not we would move forward with those. They are for water projects and sewer projects, specifically laid out areas.
Talking about from the state, Richard, or county?
It's state funds, yes. Yeah. Oh, on your sheet, there may be a change because these came out before.
It's updated. It's updated. I believe it's updated.
It's already correct.
Oh, good. The planning commission would change to the 29th.
Of November.
Yep.
Yep.
I didn't expect you to all show up for my birthday, so. The day before Thanksgiving.
all right. Parks Commission. Was there anything there? Anybody knows?
I really didn't bring up anything last night.
I can tell you that the structures that they put over some of the picnic areas in Mill Pond Park, or in the Waterworks Park, are really nice, and that
Oh,
park
yeah.
is getting used a lot,
Mhm.
more than I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
Good.
Speaking about parks though, and Waterworks in particular, because it is a kayak launch, the launch out on Fish Lake Road has been finished, and I participated in a ribbon cutting for that, where not only was it noted that it was finished, but there's two different names there, the Shiawassee or the Headwater Trails. Whichever one was in ownership of that, they have turned that over to the township. And then as well, they are looking at, there's about 30 acres where the house used to sit, that the land that goes with that they are developing a path, a walking path layout that may connect up behind the academy into the village too. And that's a long term yet, it's not done, but that's their next project.
I saw a photo of that, it looks really nice there, the
Yeah.
launch, yeah.
Yeah.
I came in there, I put in Waterworks Park and paddled on the Sunday before Memorial Day and used the takeout at Fish Lake, and it was
So now the
about
public can use it?
an hour and a half is what it
Yeah, it's all
took.
kept, it's private
Yep.
property.
It's
private
got a nice
property. Yeah, that's
parking lot.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
got
I
a
saw
nice
that,
parking
but-
lot,
Yeah, up until.
as well as a walkway over the new
Oh, looks beautiful.
bridge that they
culvert,
put
yeah,
in,
that's really
culvert. They made it wide enough that there is a walkway, like a 6-foot walkway that goes over to the other property where the home was. So it's all nicely connected. It's very
Well, it's
nice.
all laid with private property, so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's not gonna be
Well,
fun, but nice enough they
yeah,
turned it over.
The Headwaters Trails
that's
people
cool.
have bought that,
That's
and then
awesome.
the Roeder family gave the house to the township. So all the little
Awesome.
pieces are finally coming together. But what was really nice about that pedal is you can do it in the evening, and when you see the power lines, and we just called Jim and said, hey, bring the truck. And
And he meets you.
And he met us, and we
Oh,
just
that's
loaded
great.
up and came
Yeah.
home. So it really
Yeah.
is wonderful.
And the new culvert is, big as
Huge.
this room, so, you can go through it.
Actually, the
With your
road
canoes.
commission guy told us it's the biggest culvert they've ever installed.
Yeah.
We were there when they were building it. He said, we've been driving our trucks through this.
Nice.
Yeah. Canoe through like this. Indiana Jones style, yeah.
You make your wife sit in the front so she breaks through all the wet.
She's watching
That's what
you.
the kids are for.
She said that's what the kids
The
are
kids are for.
for. Galen, she said that's what the kids are for.
You don't wanna make your wife mad. Send the kids up there and say, hey, give them a job, make it fun for them.
All right, moving on to commissioner and staff comments. Ms. Campbell?
I don't think I had anything. Like I said, I went to the track, volunteered at the truck rally. It was fun. I left earlier than I should have apparently, and kind of wish I'd come back and helped longer because not enough volunteers came. So yeah, there was only a few people that felt like there that needed to be a few more.
Well, on cleanup, it
Yeah.
always takes a few more people than what
Right,
show
right.
up for cleanup.
For sure.
Mhm.
But it was fun.
Yeah.
I ended up turning in my voucher because I couldn't wait through the line at Andy's Burger, so. So, didn't get my meal.
Mm.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Angela?
I attended Pride in the Park at Lakeside Park on June 10th. And we had speakers, Ryan Delaney, our village president, April Brandon spoke, Dylan Morris, who is a Oxford High School survivor, shooting survivor, and executive director of No Future Without Gay, spoke along with Amanda Shelton, who is a Circuit County judge, and Rosemary Bayer, who is a senator. So that was great. Kristen Mott headed that up, and Megan Powell. It was great to see a lot of our entities all work together. So Village Parks, Township Parks, Angie Lemon's senior group, the Veterans Resource Center, the Holly Township Library. There was just a bunch of people, almost the whole village really worked together to pull this off. So it was a great event, and look forward to it next year. Make it bigger and better. We had about 500 people who were there.
Thank you. Galen?
Oh, yes, I do. So on July 8th, the American Legion, where I'm a member, is going to be having a community day, community market fun day. So if anyone's available, come on out. There will be crafters there and vendors and fun and drinks and popcorn and everything else. Tagging along with that, I am looking for people that have any type of property along busy thoroughfare roads. If you have any property along like North Saginaw, for instance, I have some signs that you can put up to advertise. I don't know who else has property along North Saginaw, but someone does, I think. Don't you? Yeah, I thought you did. So maybe I'll talk to you after the meeting. There you go. I want to make sure everyone was aware too, after the meeting, last meeting, I contacted Ken McKay, or we talked, and he was the guy that did the storage units. And I briefly told him that everyone I talked to while doing my research only had nice things to say about him. I didn't have a chance to say it during the meeting, so I wanted to make sure he knew that. And he had done a lot for the village, and I appreciated that, and wished him luck, however his project may go forward. Another thing that, in the course of looking through our ordinances, the intensity of lights that we have. So the intensity of lights is using wattage, which wattage is like a power, not an intensity of light. So if there was a way we can, yeah, lumens, exactly. If there was a way we can update it to lumens, that would be more logical, I think, because wattage is almost useless with
LED.
LED. Yeah. So there is an equivalent in there. It says the equivalent to like a halide, but really no, lumens would just be definitive. That's it.
Richard?
So do we want to ask, she's making notes, ask Roe to bring us a modification or a revision to that ordinance for the lighting?
We could draft a text amendment to include lumens to the lighting for the ordinance, if you'd like.
So we would have to talk that over with administration, but I don't see any reason why we wouldn't update that ordinance to reflect lumens versus watts. Just like everything else, it changes over time. 15 years ago, it may have been rated before LEDs or longer as wattage, and now with the market flooded with LEDs, it may be appropriate now to go to lumens. But I will definitely bring that up with our staff, and we will contact Roe for a text amendment draft language to bring back to this board.
Thank you. The big thing, yep. I do want to thank again the Main Street volunteers for their help putting on the Chambers event up at Holly Foods parking lot. That was our second year. I think we had more than 600 people there, and our big frustration was we didn't have enough picnic table seating. When you hit that many people, people are needing places to sit to eat, and so other than that, it was a very good success. We have started as well Concerts in Park. The Chamber, this is our second year for Concerts in Park, and July 20th will be our next one, and it will be, the band is called Glen Cora. They are a Irish Celtic band. I have heard them, and when I heard them, I went up and I said, I want you. And so they are coming July 20th. And we have a golf outing. We have openings yet. And then Blues, Brews, and Barbecue is first weekend in August. Sidewalk sales and rummage sales. The Chamber every year for about 4 or 5 years, we have gotten the event permit, the special event permit from the village that allows businesses to put merchandise on the sidewalk, as well as adding the rummage sales throughout the community. You do not have to use one of your permit options for that. We have done a blanket permit for that weekend. So as long as you still follow the village guidelines, you are able to set up for a rummage sale. And we have a link on our website for that weekend. If you go on there, you can type in your address, and it will populate in a list on our website for people to know where those garage sales are at, so that they can drive around. And
What weekend is it?
the last weekend of July, the 28th, Friday 28th, Saturday 29th, Sunday 30. So it's the weekend to shop in Holly.
Jim?
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I have one other item.
Your turn's over.
We'll be out of here in just a second, I promise. This is business related. So I was reading I think this was in the MML, the Michigan Municipal League guide to be a commissioner. And one of the items is how to do site visits. And I think one of we obviously all can't go out there because we're a quorum, we can't do that. One of the things that was proposed, I think it was in that document, was you randomly select or have an alternating, rotating volunteers that want to go out. So it's not always me, not always Richard that goes out. If the property owner wants to allow us to view the property, we can view it, and then we would be able to come back and tell everyone else what we saw. I think that would be helpful in some instances, like the Airbnb we had at was it the last meeting, the Battle Alley one?
Yeah, 2
where
weeks ago.
it confused me because I thought we were looking at the whole drawing when it was actually a very small portion of that drawing. And I think someone having eyes on that would have completely resolved that. So I did ask Mr. Walker, our village manager, about that, and another suggestion he said was ask staff, because our staff here, Mr. Watson, probably goes out to every building anyway.
I visit quite a few.
Yes, so,
More often than others.
so we could do something like coordinate with Mr. Watson. If he knows the building, he could potentially tell us about it, or we could even go out and view it randomly if we wanted to, if that's something we wanted to do as a commission as well.
So I believe, correct me if I'm mistaken, everybody can go, it's just not they can't go at the same time.
Right.
And that's what causes the quorum. So,
And I think a training that we received from Roe on commission, planning commission things, we did a joint one with the village, with the township back a year or two ago. So some of you, maybe it'd be time to do another one of those. Because I know that the township has a few new people too on their planning commission, but it addressed that how you conduct yourself even there, that you really are not supposed to have interaction with the site owner. So really to even ask permission to go on site is almost more than you really are supposed to be doing.
So the technical term is ex parte communication, and so if you go on site, you have to ask permission by the property owner. However, with ex parte communication, if you're walking around on site, it really shouldn't be with the property owner because they could give you information that other commissioners aren't going to get. Even if you relay it back, it's secondhand information, so it's that kind of.
Now, still my understanding of the law, ex parte communication is not legal,
Right,
but it does open up
also-
the village potentially for lawsuits.
Right, and also, it's image also. You don't wanna give off the image that you're giving one applicant more, time or more resources than another. That's also part of it. But if the village is interested, we can always do, even during a planning commission meeting, if you have a light agenda, bring back that same,
Training.
kind of training as well, especially for your new commission members, that would be beneficial. So just let us know.
thank you, Miss.
That'd be good.
Really done.
And were you done,
And my
Richard?
last thing is, have a very happy 4th of July, and all of you come down to Lakeside Park for the fireworks.
July 4th, right?
On the 4th, dusk on the 4th. Come early and you can enjoy all of what else goes on down there. And I'll leave it there.
Get all your little toys.
All right,
Right?
questions or statement. I believe the address is 610 North Saginaw, on the corner of Rosette.
Yes, sir.
All right, they are moving earth, and they have removed their silt fencing.
I did not notice. So that is a county entity that would do the enforcement on that, but I will inquire. I did not catch that. I know they were out there today doing that, working.
They've actually had it down for some time now.
Have they? Okay.
Yeah, but they weren't moving any earth for a long time, so it's like, you know.
Today
But
they were moving earth.
Today they've been moving a lot of earth, and the way they're grading it without that fencing being there, if we get a decent rain, it's going to start muddying up the streets and sidewalks and going across.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate that. I will definitely address it tomorrow.
Hey, I got one thing. Just because I was looking at real estate listings. You all approved, some condos back on, not Rosette Street.
Oakwood.
Oakwood? Those babies are going for $329,000 a pop.
And I don't think they have any,
One sold.
just one?
I think one, and another one's pending, but they
Right.
just got their finals probably 35, 45, or 30 to 45 days. I mean, it has not been long.
That popped up in my multiple listing, and I'm like, where is this? This is right behind the brew pub. This is gonna go fast.
They're
Right
beautiful.
next to railroad tracks.
Yeah.
I know, Jim was like, he was negative too, but I think they look wonderful, and
Oh, they did a great
half the
job.
houses in Holly listen to the railroad tracks, so.
And they are a fully suppressed building, which is extremely exciting for me, and the
Awesome.
residents as well.
Okay. I guess next item was on, I'm sorry, I don't have the address, on Grange Hall, the cannabis
Loom,
facility there. Loom.
3518.
Right. Were those container or modules that they brought in?
So, great question. We are one of the first communities in the nation that has that type of development. Since then, they've put one up in, I believe, Mount Pleasant and in North Carolina. Don't quote me, but I believe that's what the owner said. I'm seeing this as the new future of.
I don't remember seeing that on the site plan as far as how it was constructed, as far as that goes.
Oh.
It would be as module.
So it's completely stick built in a factory, but then just transported out into pods
Okay.
and then erected as a kit. I've been out there every day since they've started, and pretty impressive.
Okay.
I had a meeting at the Villager the day the crane was there, and I'm walking in the Villager and I was like, wow, you know, a crane in Holly, first of all. And the thing was mammoth. And, you know, so I had to go be nosy and watch them, and they were just lifting those pieces into place. I thought it was marvelous. And, you know, I know there were some complaints on Facebook about it being modular, but as long as it meets all of our codes and ordinances, we don't really care, do we?
I don't understand that part.
And Ms. Everly, you know, I spoke with the owner. The owner was on site day 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And that is the stigma that he is trying to shed. He doesn't want to be associated with modular because it is stick-built to the Michigan Building Code. It's just like if you were to go out and build a residential home. However, it's built inside a controlled environment versus, you know, a modular home is controlled through the state, not the local jurisdiction, whereas a building inspector like myself, all those get done through the state of Michigan, whereas here we still have local control over these type of developments, and they still hit the Michigan Building Code and Energy Code. So
I'm assuming they come with some type of a certificate, because since the sheetrock would be on, you have no way of knowing what was behind it.
Absolutely. So they are constructed in Alpena, and the Alpena Building Department is the initial response for those inspections, and then the state of Michigan comes in and validates the Alpena inspection, and then Holly also goes in and can request any one of those panels. They're actually panels. It's not drywall. Can be removed to look behind there. I can tell you behind those panels is OSB and high energy efficient insulation. So it's more than just drywall. And yesterday they were there putting in the fire suppression. So once again, another added benefit to Holly. As we all know, a little over a year ago, anywhere I can get fire suppression is a huge asset. So I know it's a very small building, but when we were creating our ordinance with Village Council and administration, we required those facilities to be suppressed. So I want to thank council and administration for, I pushed really hard along with Chief McGee to get that as an ordinance.
Do they have a date, like approximately when they want to be open?
So I can tell you Hampton Manor and Loom are probably competing right now for that. They both are very, very close. Last Tuesday I went through Hampton Manor with the state of Michigan. They got a few little things to fix. They're waiting on their light post. They've been on back order for about 2 months. So that may be, and they have some landscaping, some dead trees that need to be replaced. But other than that, the inside is absolutely gorgeous. I would highly recommend when they do open to take a tour of that facility. It is nothing like an assisted living memory care that you're probably accustomed to. Theater, I mean, just
It's gorgeous from
Top
outside,
shelf.
actually.
top shelf. But to answer your question, they're both looking to be open within 30 to 45 days.
Do we have any further progress on the marathon?
So Dennis emailed me today requesting some continuing information. I know that we are still a little stagnant with the gas tanks, right? We knew when we approved the site plan that they were approximately 12 to 16 to maybe even 18 months out. I know they have been ordered. I have not heard back on a estimated arrival for those tanks. I'm under the impression next spring is when they're probably going to break ground on that project, but I can't say for certain.
But have they updated all their drawings and submittals?
Yes, so they've been trickling in, but it's not a full-blown
It's not
approval
complete
yet.
yet.
Yeah, we're still waiting for some state information, making sure that the tanks, the safeguarding, the redundancies, all those are still approved, but I haven't gotten that letter back. Dennis did respond, like I said, today with a couple inquiries, so I may have more information at the next meeting on that. But, you know, when they came in as a phased project, it was my understanding that it would be 2024 before that development started, mostly due to the availability of those tanks.
Last question, which is just a shot in the dark. The Hamptons, okay?
I'm sorry?
The assisted living
Yes,
facility.
sir, Hampton Manor.
And the water main break. Anything correlating between the two?
You know, I don't think so.
My conversation with Mr. Clausen, what they dug up was a couple of rocks about this big that over 20 years, vibrations like this wore a hole in the pipe. And he said that's not uncommon.
It just seemed coincidental, you know.
Well,
I had the same thought of you, because we drove through there twice that day, and it was like, pinch something off, maybe.
Well, we did do a suppression test that day, but, you know, we do suppression tests on a lot of facilities
Yes.
every year.
Which causes spikes, and that could have just been the last straw that, yeah.
Yep.
So I can't say for certain, but I would like to deny that it was us.
All right, anything from staff?
I would just like to wish everybody happy 4th of July, and please be safe. Fireworks are extremely dangerous. If you have young children, please make sure you're supervising them. The last thing we want to do is respond to your facility or your home residence for any kind of careless use of fireworks, not only for human, but for your structures as well, right? If you see your neighbors lighting them off, please contact Holly PD. It is a violation. We want to try to preserve the integrity. I am thankful for all the rain, so we can hopefully not worry about grass fires or things of that nature, but please just use most common sense and safety
Go see the
guidelines.
ones at the park and don't do them at home.
Yep, and I will be
Pros
there
do it.
monitoring those and approving those before we shoot them off, so.
All right, last thing is public comments again at the end. Is there anything that anybody would like to say? Seeing no one move forward, let's lay ourselves adjourned at 7.